broadcasting live for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. This is GRTS News at 2200 hours. Coming up, His Excellency President Adama Barrow launches the National People's Party amid thousands of supporters and well-wishers at the Independence Stadium. Difficult trips to school and back. Newsfile examines daily transportation challenges school children in the Gambia face amid inadequate buses for student transport. And transferring ideas for development sustainability, Basse Area Council visits Senegalese counterparts in Medina Gounass city to exchange best practice in local administration. In sports, the Court of Arbitration for Sport CAS reinstates Mr. Ahmad as president of the Confederation of African Football, temporarily pending an appeal against a 5-year ban from the sport. Away from home, the World Health Organization warns countries against hoarding COVID-19 vaccines as the European Union Commission agrees to control the export of coronavirus vaccines from the EU. Elsewhere, increasing violence in the Central African Republic forces over 200,000 citizens to flee for safety. Well, viewers, this and much more coming ahead in the news. I am Aminata E. Sanyang. Thanks for joining us. It's great to have you here. We begin this special bulletin with the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, who has finally launched his political party, the National People's Party, amid thousands of supporters and well-wishers at the Independence Stadium in Bakau. The Gambian leader was accorded a resounding welcome that started at the capital's Denton Bridge, where thousands of supporters accompanied the president all the way to the Independence Stadium. Hundreds of special guests, diplomats, ministers, local government officials, chiefs and alcalos, as well as scopes of dignitaries also joined the grand launch at the stadium, which was brimming full to capacity with tens of thousands of supporters adorned in NPP colors amid entertainment and jubilation to formally welcome the inauguration of the National People's Party. Now, it's a daily story of drudgery and endless labors for students going to school across urban centers in the Gambia. The struggle for transport, especially during rush hours, continues to hit hard, particularly on school-going children in inner city area. GRTS's Ibrahim Jallo examines the transport trouble firsthand and captured reactions of students and the top executive of the national transport sector.
Traveling to and from school is becoming a nightmare, at least for students in the Greater Banjul area. Commercial drivers chasing daily ends meet seem to care less about passenger satisfaction.
It is 6 p.m. and we are in the capital city Banjul, witnessing the closing of school for those in the evening shift. Here also we are witnessing the transport challenges students encounter on a daily basis while trying to reach their various destinations. This is a routine problem according to the students, and that the problem is caused by some of the drivers who may not want to go directly to the destinations, but instead segmentalize the traffic so that they can maximize their income.
Consequently, passengers, especially students, spend more money and energy to get to their desired destinations.
What we do here from the apprentice, it is that it doesn't favor us. So what we need here is a school bus. When we have a school bus, it's going to be a very good thing for us.
The situation appears risky too, as many students reach home late and in some cases trek to their homes after sunset.
These vehicles are stopped at the traffic light, Sugra traffic light, around the Salaji area, yes. So for me, I'm going to Latria around the Java.
Sometimes it's definitely tahaw by 9 or 8. Most of them are by 9 o'clock.
Meanwhile, most of the students stranded in Banjul on Tuesday evening were picked up later, thanks to the Gambia Transport Service Company. At Westfield, one of the busiest connecting centers in the metropolis, the struggle for transport is even more dire.
You see how students are here, no vehicle. Even you have your fare, you are not going to have a vehicle. Vehicles are not stopping, buses are not enough. As you can see, look at the students. Look at the students. We are having our fares. We are not having vehicles. Since 5:30, for us we closed from school all the way from Muslim. However, we came up to here We don't find out bus driver here, no vehicles. We are having our fares, no vehicles, so we are appealing to the head of state, Ministry of Education, head of state, even philanthropists, whoever can help the student.
Commercial drivers met in traffic at the time of coverage declined to comment on the issue. However, off camera, they often put the blame on the cost of fuel, traffic jam, and lack of central garages. Omar Sise is the president of the Gambia Transport Union and had this to say.
All this will be in congestion of traffic. Driver is a businessman looking for profit. To spend 1 hour within to 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers, end of the day working on losses. That's why they use that strategies. But what we expect, what can make things easier, the government is to regulate the sector, especially the road users and the way the nature of people are using the roads. I think if you do that, things will be resolved as soon as possible.
The Gambian transport sector largely rely on commercial operators. However, their actions are said to be deviating the traffic rules at the expense of commuters. Ibrahima Jallo, GRTS News.
Let's now turn to the Upper River region. The Basse Area Council has traveled to Medina Yero Fula for an exchange trip to learn and transfer best practices for implementation in their work. The trip, organized by Tostan Gambia in collaboration with their Tostan Calder counterparts in Senegal, is an important opportunity to gather expertise on decentralization policies for development that have been firmly implemented in the Senegalese city. Our URR correspondent Seydou Kamara joined the exchange trip and filed on this report.
Exchange trip for Basse Area Council and its Senegalese counterpart in Medina Yero Fula. The two councils are sharing good practices on decentralization, infrastructural development, and better representation for communities in local administration. In the third exchange program between the two councils, more ideas are being made to boost capacity in the targeted areas, with Medina Yero Fula recognized as the most outstanding district in terms of decentralization, women's empowerment, and engagement of children and youth. The mayor of Medina Yero Fula, Khalidou Sy, expressed delight for the visit and acknowledged the strong bilateral relationship between Gambia and Senegal, which the two councils are working to strengthen and advance through mutual engagement. Mayor Sy said his councils has greatly benefited from the expertise on modeling the electronic tax collection program introduced by Basse Area Council for transparency and accountability. The Chief Executive Officer Basse Area Council, Usman Toure, highlighted the importance of the trip, which he said will enhance their operations at the council in terms of policy decentralization.
That we have learned a lot from Medina Yero Fula. All these things are in our act, but it's like, to implement it was what was lacking. But when we came, we found that these people are doing it. We said, nothing should stop us from doing it. And we've been doing it. And we have also seen the women participation. We've also learned that the Medina Yero Fula Council is a child-friendly council. And this definitely has inspired me that when I go back to Basse Area Council too will be a child-friendly council.
The regional youth chairperson of Upper River Region, Bokar Sidibe, described the exchange trip as a key milestone for his administration. Workable models, such as the city's focus on children's issues handled by a special children's area council and other related youth projects, will be replicated in Basse to expand the council's impact.
Our target is, inshallah, as we also go home, we want to establish this children area council in collaboration with the council, both the regional youth committee and the Basse area council. We will be in close partnership to make sure we make this thing happen. And I am also taking this thing as a promise that, of course, inshallah, I will work with my committee and with the committee of Basse area council under the leadership of Chairman Danjo to establish the structure to make sure the council, both the youth council and the area council, is child friendly.
Tostan Gambia coordinator Idrissa Keita said the scheme focuses on strengthening community empowerment programs, raising awareness among women and children in all sectors.
This is an integral part of our Tostan program now. So this is why we see that the Basse Area Council could be supported through Tostan and see what are various possibilities of engaging them to come and learn best practices from Medina Yero Fula, because it's cost effective, one, there's a lot of commonality, between the people, that are in both areas, but also the approaches, and thank God that Basse Area Council is following the right steps in this direction by incorporating the people-centered consultations.
The chairman of Basse Area Council, Fode Danjom, acknowledged the importance of the trip, which he described as an opportunity to gather best practice, such as Madina Hero Fulam, special participatory budgeting program. Chairman Danjo also expressed delight in signing a memorandum of understanding between his council and Madina Hero Fulam on the basis of exchange of mutual interest in terms of decentralization development.
That MOU that we signed, there are a lot of things that are within the MOU. One, exchange of skills is part of it. Two, to learn decentralization from each other is part of it. Because as we all know, Senegal has a lot, or Senegal knows a lot in decentralization. So it's very important for us to tap the experience that they have in decentralization.
The delegates were taken on a conducted tour of various development projects and ongoing city constructions. The team also called on the governor of Madina Yoro Fula, Aliou Badara Mbaye, who thanked the delegates for choosing his city, Madina Yoro Fula, noting that such trip will only strengthen the existing relationship between the two countries and its people. Saidou Kamara, reporting for GRTS News File from Basse Upper River Region.
I'll say the camera there. Now we head to the Central River region where several towns, including Kerewan Sambasira, Dakar, Keba, Suso, and Tabanani, are the latest to receive modern beekeeping materials from officials of the large-scale ecosystem-based adaptation project, as Suma W. Jadama reports. The donated materials are aimed at mitigating the devastating impact of climate change through the provision of economic opportunities for rural dwellers.
Presentation of these beekeeping materials to the lower Fladu East settlement of Kerewan Sambasira, Dakar, Keba, Suso, and Tabanani by EBA project was presided by Chief Modulamin Balde.
Project jamale nat na nyim banko ka. Ba project na watu banda rek wakafa woldo. Femma sabu mbuka ken tati.
So many projects came to this country, but most of them perished whenever projects phased out. Let's take ownership of projects in order to derive benefits from them.
Members of the beneficiary communities, including Keta Jao and Musa Kamara, reacted to the initiative.
Beekeeping produce a lot of things in this environment because one is give you food, it gives you medicinal, and it gives you pollination. Actually, one can say its benefits.
Maintenance of biodiversity and pollination of crops are the most valuable services provided by bees.
In the Boraba here or Simbisara Lele here, we lack a lot. But I'm inviting everybody, all the ladies, all the women here, all the boys, come together so that we can work hard and have our plants be pollinated. We have honey, we have beeswax, so that things will go together as well as what we want.
Beekeeping is very important as it protects the forest against bushfire and deforestation.
Beehives distribution by EBA project continues to the northern part of the Central River region. Suma W. Jadama reporting for GRTS.
Now, the Gambia Victims Center has staged its annual general meeting discussing future undertakings and national activities with different stakeholders. The engaging meeting held on Saturday at the Paradise Suites Hotel in Kololi aims to expand issues of common interest and the way forward for victims as the country advances its transitional justice process. Khadijatu Juara tells us more.
A vital roundtable convenes the board and officials of the Victims Center, which is meeting to discuss future undertakings and national programs with stakeholders. Speaking during the opening ceremony, the chairman of the board of directors, Sirif Mohammed Kijera, said the day is a manifestation of the strong support and growing interest in the work of the Victims Center.
We have continuously made efforts to review our working relationships and improve our partnerships with relevant institutions to enhance, promote, and protect victims of human rights violations in the Gambia. This is evident in most of our press releases, petitions, press conferences, and the engagements with the international partners, as well as the Gambian government. The establishment of the Secretariat that comprises of competent personnel has resulted in the speedy implementations of project activities on time and proactively continue to apply for funding to sustain the activities of the Victim Center.
Working with victims of the country's long and difficult years of dictatorship in the previous regime, the Victim Center is playing a central role in the current transitional justice process, with an active Truth Commission expected to recommend and lead the way towards the seeking of justice, reparations, and reconciliation for victims. Mr. John Charles Njai, chairman of TANGO, the Association of Non-Governmental Organizations that serves as the umbrella body for civil society groups in the Gambia, said the meeting is a crucial opportunity for victims, board members, and the Secretariat to discuss issues of concern and strategize for the way forward.
Let your diversity be your strength and not your weakness. Remain non-partisan. Remain a non-partisan body. Even if some among you are partisan openly, this impartiality to partisan interest will give you credibility and greater visibility.
Advancing efforts towards the success and full implementation of the objectives of transitional justice, the Victim Center will significantly contribute to ensuring closure and reparations for victims whose difficult journey continues as the Truth Commission continues its work to uncover 2 decades of repression. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Khadija Tujuwara.
The Efficient Cooking Solution campaign by the Ministry of Energy and UNIDO has docked at Makati Island, Janjanbureh, hosted by Governor Sheriff Abasanyang, who complimented efforts of the ministry considering the significant loss of woodland in the Central River region. By Ibrahim Cham has the rest of that story.
Georgetown, McCarthy Island, home of the hippos and freshwater, rich in its heritage, hosted the countrywide tour on the usage of efficient cooking solutions by the Energy Ministry and UNIDO. Janjanbureh, like all of the 7 regions, lost close to 50% of its woodland due to the excessive use of firewood and charcoal production. The host and governor of Central River Region, Sheriff Abasanyang, complimented the efforts of the Energy Ministry, mentioning that the government is deeply concerned about the rate of deforestation, and this is one of the many steps being made to curb the increase.
Gambia is losing all its forests, particularly CRR. If you look at CRR North, CRR South, almost 50 to 60% of their forest is almost all gone. And people depend highly in the fall wood for their survival, yes. But again, because of the deforestation nature at which we are going, it's impacting the several components of our life. And this strategy of giving them this furno no-fly or the furno jambar is going to economize the use of this fuel wood, which I think will help the families and the populations of the region, and also the ecosystem in general.
Adama Gassama Jallo is a senior energy officer and gender focal point at the Energy Ministry, who believes it's crucial to reach out to rural women, since most of them depend on firewood and use the 3-stone cooking method, which is detrimental to their health due to the smoke it produces.
We're using this for no fly more at rural level, because in the urban areas, women cook with charcoal. So we're promoting the furno jambar. Most of them at the urban areas, and the rural areas we are promoting both, but we put more focus on the furno no fly. The reason, like I said, is because they cook with firewood. I mean, this is important, because if you look at it at rural level, in rural areas rather, women cook with these 3 stoves, or we call it 3-stove rather, and it's called open fire. When cooking with open fire, there is a lot of air that is coming in, and all the heat that is produced by the wood will not go under the pot, so it's not hitting the pot in actual sense. So the fire is going into the air, or let me say the heat is evaporating into the air. So it takes the women longer time to cook a meal that could take them one hour to cook. It can take them 3 hours or more.
Amidst the fanfare and entertainment, 12 chiefs were presented with LPG gas bottles, which produces clean gas with no smoke, and the women participated in the raffle draw.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I love Gambia. Okay.
Basse, the capital of the Lower River region, is the campaign's last port of call. Reporting for GRTS News, I'm by Ibrahim Cham.
By Ibrahim Cham there. Well, you're watching GRTS News at 2200 hours. Coming up. In sports, the Court of Arbitration for Sport CAS reinstates Mr. Ahmad as president of the Confederation of African Football, temporarily pending an appeal against a 5-year ban from the sport. The World Health Organization warns countries against hoarding COVID-19 vaccines as the European Union Commission agrees to control the export of coronavirus vaccines from the EU. And we will take you to the Central African Republic, where post-violence has forced over 200,000 citizens to flee for safety. All coming up after this break. Do stay with us.
Sarah and Tracy, from the top 8 finalists of the Be a Star Sierra Leone. Their lives changed from day one. New original songs. Be famous and successful. Be a star in the Gambia.
On the biggest stage right now in Sierra Leone.
Being a part of Be a Star is going a step further in chasing my dreams and my career as an artist.
All you have to do is record a video of you singing your favorite song, not more than 2 minutes long. Send the video by WhatsApp to the following number, 2299944, using an AfriCell number. State your name and where you're from. Be a winner of a fully recorded album and $500,000. AfriCell Be a Star, your road to success.
Welcome back. Time for sports. The Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS, has dramatically reinstated Mr. Ahmad as president of the Confederation of African Football, temporarily pending an appeal against a 5-year ban from the sport. Mr. Ahmad, who is appealing against his ban at the International Sporting Court, the highest body in sports judicial decisions in Switzerland, Lucerne, on Friday evening, as CAS released a statement saying the appeal will be heard on March 2nd, 10 days before the CAF presidential election. It says Mr. Ahmad was reinstated due to a risk of irreparable harm for Mr. Ahmad if the disciplinary sanction is maintained during the period prior to the CAF elections. The court, however, rejects the Malagasy's bid for an order to be imposed on FIFA to prevent the global football body from taking any decision aimed at preventing Mr. Ahmad from participating in the CAF's upcoming presidential elections. Mr. Ahmad's participation in the elections is still dependent on whether he succeeds in overturning the decision of the FIFA Ethics Committee to ban him from football for 5 years after being found wanting for breaching several of the global football body's ethics codes. Well, we will take another break. When we return, the news continues. Welcome back. We look at the international news making headlines. The World Health Organization is warning countries against hoarding COVID-19 vaccines. This comes as the European Union Commission agreed to control the export of coronavirus vaccines from the EU to ensure its smooth supply. Asta Tall has more.
Since the start of the pandemic, the WHO has pushed for equitable distribution of COVID-19 vaccines. This led to the creation of COVAX. Co-led by the WHO, it looks to ensure fair access to these vaccines for poor and lower middle income countries. But now there are worries that rich countries are hoarding COVID-19 vaccines.
If we hoard vaccines and if we're not sharing, there will be three major problems. One, I said it, there will be a catastrophic moral failure. And two, it keeps the pandemic burning. And three, very slow global economic recovery. So it's morally wrong in terms of arresting the pandemic. It wouldn't help, and it wouldn't also bring livelihoods back. Is that what we want? So it's our choice. And I hope we will choose the right things.
WHO authorities are speaking out following plans by the European Commission to control exports of COVID-19 vaccines from the EU, including the UK. The move looks to ensure that the EU has supplies of the coronavirus vaccines.
There are multiple elements. When you get a medicine or you get a vaccine, you're getting products that are coming from many places in the world. So it's not, let's say it's not helpful to have any country at this stage putting export bans or barriers that will not allow for the free movement of the necessary ingredients that will make vaccines, diagnostics, and other medicines available to all the world.
The lack of fair access to COVID-19 vaccines is having an effect on health workers globally. The head of the WHO's Health Emergencies Program said that health workers in poor countries had expressed concerns over their ability to receive the coronavirus vaccines.
So I think we need to step back and reflect upon our brave colleagues and where they stand today and what we're going to do about that. And we need to reflect on that. We are all desperate. Everyone is desperate. Governments are desperate to service the needs of their citizens. That's their mandate. But we all need to say, would I put a vaccine in my arm today if I thought that a health worker in the South would not get a vaccine today? And I think we all need to examine our own consciences and then tell our political leaders and others what we want them to do.
As well as warning against vaccine hoarding, the WHO announced its hopes to give the AstraZeneca Oxford University vaccine emergency use listing. It is also set to meet manufacturers of Russia's vaccine, as well as visit vaccine facilities in China. Astatal, CGTN.
Global rush for COVID-19 vaccines continues. There are fears African nations could be left badly exposed if richer and more developed countries hoard the vaccine. Now, African nations are banking on a global discussion in Switzerland around the vaccine to change the dynamics on how the continent accesses the crucial jab. CGT and Daniel Arab Moy has more.
Of vaccines by rich countries has complicated Africa's efforts to secure enough supplies for its population. The price of not solving the vaccine distribution challenge internationally has left many African countries scrambling.
The developed North, which has substantial financial resources, has purchased the largest stocks, while we in Africa are struggling to get our fair share. The painful irony is that some of the clinical trials for these vaccines were carried out in Africa.
According to Duke University's Global Health Institute, rich countries have locked up 60% of the global vaccine supply. Rwandan President Paul Kagame has called for a review and adjustment of social protection systems to fill gaps that have been revealed by the COVID-19 crisis.
The social protection agenda cannot be limited to wealthy countries indeed. In fact, the pandemic has also reminded us of how we are interlinked and how we are interdependent in many ways, so that in one part of the globe things happening will affect the other part as well. It doesn't matter how rich or how poor we are.
Calls for a people's vaccine seem to be falling on deaf ears as wealthier countries have it their way. The promise of equitable access and distribution disparities of COVID-19 vaccines is feared will only prolong the pandemic unless the world join hands to defeat the deadly and yet invisible enemy. In Africa, many people are still pinning their hopes on the arrival of the COVID-19 vaccines. This year's Davos Forum will play an important role in rebuilding trust and ensuring no one is left behind during the global pandemic. Daniel Arab Moy, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
Let's turn to North Africa now, where Morocco has started its national vaccination campaign after receiving vaccines from AstraZeneca and Sinopharm clinics have been set up in various locations across the country, with citizens aged 70 and above receiving jabs.
Morocco has the second highest number of COVID-19 infections on the continent, and for many people in the country, the vaccination campaign has brought hope that they could soon bring the disease under control.
The official came to my house yesterday and didn't find me. He came again this morning and told me to come get vaccinated. Only good will come out of the vaccine, God willing. Once years are in the hands of God, and so there is no reason to be afraid.
We have started vaccinations for those aged 75 and above. We have equipped the area here for them, put in all the efforts to make things well. We will gradually start opening up the rest of the vaccination centers in the city of Saleh. At this moment, we have moving vaccination centers targeting strategic populations at the front line of the pandemic.
Morocco has received 2 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine. The vaccine has been manufactured by the Serum Institute of India. About 500,000 doses of China's Sinopharm vaccine have also arrived in the country. The North African country plans to vaccinate 80% of its population within 3 months. The government also says vaccinations will be available to all Moroccans over the age of 17 at no cost. Wilkis Anyabwa, CGTN.
Let's take you to West Africa now, where a court in the Netherlands has ruled that oil giant Shell, Nigerian subsidiary, is responsible for leaking oil from some of its pipeline in the country's Niger Delta. The case is over a decade old. The ruling means Shell will pay an unspecified damages compensation.
Royal Dutch Shell and Nigerian farmers has been backed by Netherlands environmental problem in the country's Niger Delta region, but the court's decision could pave way for more cases against the Dutch energy company as well as other multinationals operating in Nigeria. Oil giant Shell has expressed disappointment with the verdict, saying it is not responsible. It believes sabotage from criminals caused the spills in the communities. According to the court, the amount of damages will be determined later and the ruling can be appealed at the Dutch Supreme Court. Phil Ihaza, CGTN, Abuja.
Meanwhile, the European Commission has authorized the AstraZeneca vaccine shot for use in the EU market. Vaccine shots can be used for people over the age of 18, although health experts warn it shouldn't be to those over 65. The move comes amid controversy that it will initially only be able to deliver a fraction of the vaccines promised to Europe due to the production shortfalls. Tony Waterman has more.
AstraZeneca's COVID-19 shot for use in people over 18, even as German health experts recommend it not be used in over 65s, saying there's not enough data on how well the shot works for older people. While the agency agreed data was scant, it said it still believed the shot would offer protection.
This expands the range of vaccines available to EU and EEA member states, which will all help to bring the pandemic under control and protect the citizens of the EU.
It's a much-needed affirmation for AstraZeneca's jab and another weapon in the EU's COVID-19 fighting capabilities as member states step up criticism of Brussels' handling of vaccine procurement. The approval comes as the two sides lock horns over a disruption in deliveries. The EU now expecting AstraZeneca to deliver only a quarter of the 100 million doses promised through March. It wants AstraZeneca to reroute shots from the UK to the EU to make up the difference, and earlier in the day published a redacted version of its contract with the firm, hoping to prove it has claim over the shots. The contract says AstraZeneca must use its best reasonable efforts to produce the vaccine in the EU, and explicitly states that includes the UK. Problem is, both sides disagree on what best reasonable efforts actually means.
Transparency and accountability are important to help build trust of European citizens and to make sure they can rely on the effectiveness and safety of the vaccines purchased at EU level.
Amid the clash and dwindling vaccine stockpiles, Brussels has introduced new export controls, giving member states the authority to block international shipments in certain situations.
The aim is to provide us immediately with full transparency, transparency that until now has been lacking and what Europeans expect.
The controls could affect the UK, Canada, and the United States.
Seen as the light at the end of a very long tunnel, the global battle over vaccines is likely to only intensify as the months drag on, as citizens lose patience with restrictions and as governments grow increasingly desperate to jumpstart their economies. Tony Waterman, CGTN, Brussels.
Now, violence in the Central African Republic has forced over 200,000 to flee. The UN says election violence in December has forced citizens to seek safety. Refugees speaking to the UNHCR recount fleeing as they heard gunshots. Militias have been fighting the army since the President Francois Bozize was ruled eligibly to run in the December 25th elections. President Forza Towada was announced the winner, securing a second term. Fighting erupted following those results, leading the government to declare a state of emergency. Here is an excerpt.
We're briefing today on the situation in the Central African Republic. As insecurity in the Central African Republic has displaced now more than 200,000 people within the country and in neighboring states in less than 2 months. UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, is warning that tens of thousands are facing dire conditions. Refugee arrivals into the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, have reached 92,000 according to local authorities, and over 13,000 people have crossed into Cameroon, Chad, and the Republic of Congo. Refugees continue to arrive.
It's the GRTS News at 2200 hours. A recap of our top stories before we take leave of you. His Excellency President Adama Barrow has launched the National People's Party amid thousands of supporters and well-wishers at the Independence Stadium. Difficult trips to school and back. News file examine daily transportation challenges school children in the Gambia face amid inadequate student transport. And transferring ideas for development sustainability, Basse Area Council has visited Senegalese counterparts in Medina Gounass city to exchange best practice in local administration. In sports, the Court of Arbitration for Sport cars reinstates Mr. Ahmad Ahmad as president of the Confederation of African Football, temporarily pending an appeal against a 5-year ban from the sport. Away from home, the World Health Organization has warned countries against hoarding COVID-19 vaccines as the European Union Commission agrees to control the export of coronavirus vaccines from the EU. Elsewhere, increasing violence in the Central African Republic has forced over 200,000 citizens to flee for safety. Well, viewers, that was all in this edition of the GRTS News at 2200 hours. Do stay with GRTS and enjoy the rest of our programs.